This interview was long overdue. I hate interviews. So this conversation is long overdue. First and foremost, I'm honored to be with you here, Rob.
And me with you.
Yes, I know you do that whole, I've been fascinated in I think this is our third meeting. The humility you've had, everyone says it, and initially I thought it was just a bunch of rubbish, but you have a huge heart, and most people don't know that. First and foremost, I'm going to start here. There's a lot of things you and I have to speak about, at least that's captured on behalf of South Africans, on behalf of, I think, your family. Your family has an amazing legacy. Succession planning, the fact that you always get accused of capturing people, etc. We're going to have to unpack that at some point, but that's not going to be today. And I think when we do it, I hope you'll get heated, because I'm going to ask the questions that piss you off. For today, I just want to speak about South Africa, where we are, and where you think we should be going. And I think the conversation will just go from there, because I've got a lot to say, but I just want to hear from you. But thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks, Pen. South Africa needs change.
Yeah.
Urgently and desperately. And it's permeated through the whole country, society, economy. And it's as simple as, our conversation today had to move from where we had it set up across to this other person's very kindly offered us their boardroom because we couldn't get electricity there.
Boom.
It's as simple as that. People across South Africa are realizing that the government cannot deliver and it's run out of steam. Time for change.
Yeah. So you made an amazing speech which caught my attention. I was actually on a hike, and I literally after that just made a video. I was like, I just listened to Rob Hersov and what. I made a video, and that's actually what got us here. So shout out to the internet for allowing us to connect. A lot of people have been angry with the ANC, and a mutual friend of ours was mentioning that in the past, us black people had this unwritten rule that no one speaks badly about the ANC. With white people, someone says something about the ANC, you just keep quiet.
Or push back.
Or push back and say, no, but you guys are being racist or whatever. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, I can speak for myself, and I'm the type of person who, rural township, I'm always on the ground. Everyone is frustrated. Eskom, as you said, we literally had to move here because there's no power. You hit potholes, we can see what's happening in the country. Where's the change going to come from, in your opinion?
So we're a democracy. Sure. It has to come through the ballot box. We've got a year and a half till the 2024 election, which I think is going to happen in May.
Jeez.
You heard it here first.
It's going to be fast-tracked.
May the 1st is a Wednesday.
Okay.
It's a public holiday.
That's Workers' Day.
Yeah, it's Workers' Day. And I think that's when the election's going to be. You heard it here first. But it means we haven't even got 24 months to the election.
Yeah.
And we, between now and then, have to galvanize the electorate into realizing that change comes through the ballot box, not through violence, not through disruption, not through civil unrest. We must vote for a change.
You still believe in our electoral system?
I think it is. Yeah, I do believe in it. I really do. I think there's some faults in it, and it can be gamed in the sense that people can take advantage of it. But I do believe in it.
You vote ANC. You love ANC very much.
I never voted ANC, and I won't say I never will.
Yeah.
I would have said never will a while back. I certainly won't in 2024. But Omri Mahagole, who's become a very good friend of mine, and who like you, we get into feisty arguments.
Of course, and we have to because we care.
Yeah, we care.
We're passionate.
But Omri's said to me, look, there is good in the ANC and we need to bring that back. But it's too late for the 2024 election.
Yeah.
So.
How do you feel about Cyril? Because it feels like, and you've almost become the face now of white business, purely because you're vocal, which is scary because it makes me scared of where are all the other big business heavies. How do you feel about Cyril? Some of your mates, you don't have to mention any names, how do your mates feel about Cyril? Because it almost feels like Cyril was sent by yourself, other people that are accused of capturing politicians. I'm not happy. Are you happy? Are some of your mates happy with Cyril in particular?
Massively, massively disappointed and disillusioned.
Okay.
Cyril, I'll give you one little example. Gwede Mantashe, who's absolutely useless.
Okay.
and that's being polite, suggests ESCOM 2.0.
Build another ESCOM.
Right. ESCOM 1.0 has been captured, stolen, broken, and it's almost unfixable. It's actually, in my view, unfixable. And he wants to build 2.0.
Yeah.
How idiotic is that? It doesn't make sense. So Cyril goes to the South African Communist Party conference just after Gwede Mantashe has announced 2.0 and says it's not a bad idea. How pathetic is that for Cyril to say that? He knows he's going to announce a week later his half-baked energy plan, which has nothing to do with 2.0, and yet he says to the communists, it's not a bad idea. He should have said, if he was a real man and had any spine, he should have said, it is not a good idea, and I'm going to announce something next week. But he didn't. So he tells, business people one thing, the communists another thing. He's useless.
It's a flip-flopper, and he tries to please everyone. Part of, to what you're saying about his spine, part of the issue people have had is that he doesn't have a standpoint. If we're not voting ANC come 2024, who are we voting for and why?
So I think it's good that the new parties have come into being.
Sure.
So the DA has been, from 1994, fighting the good fight, high standards, delivery, making a difference, and expanded its reach across South Africa. Okay?
Yeah.
They're now at 22% of the country. 1 out of 5 voters votes DA.
Yeah, we've seen it at local elections. They've grown and they've taken over major metros.
So the DA is there. But now we have new parties. We have Action SA, Herman Mashaba. We have Gayton McKenzie of the Patriotic Alliance. We have COPE, ADCDP.
Yeah.
We have Inkatha. We have VF Plus. And, Musi Maimane will probably re-enter the ring, I would hope, quite soon. So,
as an independent?
No, I think he'll start a new party. I think so. And there are a lot of good options for people to consider. So if you don't want to vote Action SA or DA, vote Musi Maimane or vote Inkatha, or a lot of good options.
Is that not problematic for what we're trying to do? Because it feels like we're trying to unite for change, for a better South Africa. And now you're almost saying, let's split it into little pieces. Is that not counterproductive to what we're trying to do?
No,
number one.
No, because...
And number two, I guess you'd understand the emotions of black people with our history. So when they hear DA, white racist party, when they hear you saying, we love what Gayton is doing, in their heads it's already, Gayton's been captured. Herman Mashaba was a puppet. So is this breaking up not a bad thing, rather than uniting in one party? And number two, how do we, and I'm asking you of course, but how do we get normal black people, the poor black masses, to understand why it's important to not continuously vote for a destructive party like the ANC?
Or not vote at all.
Okay.
So do you know the numbers? And I'll answer your two questions. The numbers are 17.6 million people voted.
Correct.
19.4 million didn't vote.
Jeez.
Did not vote.
At all.
At all. Registered voters.
Yeah.
So if we get 2 million of the 19.4 just to vote for any of the names I mentioned, we have change and the ANC is out. It's those 19.4 that are letting the country down. They're not voting.
Are you?
So how do we speak to, the ANC voters who are disillusioned?
ANC and EFF, because I call EFF Youth League. It's the ANC Youth League 2.0.
The EFF are just ignorant, racist, totalitarian lunatics, and ignore them. Ignore them. They've ceased to be.
There's a picture that always trends with you and Julius Malema. I don't know where you were. I don't know if
London.
you were Lord Renwick.
Yeah.
So at some point...
It was my lunch in London.
It was your lunch?
I hosted a lunch. I have a business called Invest Africa.
Sure.
And we host decision makers all over the world and let the audience hear them and decide.
Yeah.
So that business will host anyone and let the audience decide. And I happen to be sitting next to Julius in that. It was a very interesting lunch.
Sure.
It was fascinating.
Sure.
He's very intelligent.
I can agree with that. But the danger is what his politics are, because people are not sure. And when pictures like that come up, it's like, he's another Rob Hersov project, because people love perception. So
I captured Julius. That's hilarious.
Yes, you captured Julius.
He's going to love to hear that.
So we want black people to not vote ANC, EFF. How do we get them to understand why it's important to vote and to vote for other people?
Here's the message. The ANC anyone who says the ANC did not love this country is lying. The
Okay.
ANC has loved this country deeply and has wanted the best for this country. But this ANC government does not love this country. And the sooner the voters realize that, and realize that it's important to vote, but give someone else a chance.
Sure.
So the ANC is not a football team like Manchester City or Kaizer Chiefs that you follow whether they're successful or unsuccessful.
Because your parents supported them.
Yeah, or because your parents supported them. You've got to look at what's good for the country. And the ANC today is not good for the country. And it's not good for anyone except a small elite that break and steal.
One of the funny things I keep saying is that almost all of the black leaders in the ANC EFF do not live in ANC EFF neighborhoods. They live in DA neighborhoods, which is hypocritical. They expect the people to vote for them, but they refuse to be in the same space. Again, I ask, why not unite behind one horse? It may be the DA, it may be someone else. Why should people vote for different parties? Action, Gayton McKenzie's Patriotic Alliance, maybe Musi if he comes back.
Because it's healthy. It's healthy. Look at Europe,
Yes.
where democracy has flourished longer than most places in the world. Holland, Germany, Sweden. Sweden was without a government for a year, and it ticked along happily.
Wow.
Without a government, because they couldn't form a coalition.
Okay.
So coalition politics, coalition politics exists in Europe and sensible countries, let's just call them that, okay? Where you believe in democracy. And often you get coalition partners that are really unlikely. So you might get a very conservative, or whatever you want to call right wing, teaming up with the Greens, which tends to be very left wing,
Yes.
in a coalition party, because they believe that at least they agree on 6 out of 10 things, and that's
Sure.
good enough. And that's happening here. So take the DA and Action SA as an example.
Yeah.
They both agree that democracy is a good thing, free market is a good thing, capitalism, constitutional democracy. They all agree on the big stuff.
Sure.
They also agree that the most important things are jobs,
Yeah.
to combat crime,
Yeah.
education, and governance. Those 4 things are fundamental.
Yeah.
They all agree on that. So they should be working together. But I think it's positive. And my buddy Gayton McKenzie said something to me. I went up to the desert for 2 weeks on my own to think and plan.
That's
And
beautiful, by the way.
And he came to visit me for a day. And we sat around the fire and we talked about the future. And he said, Rob, I can't join a coalition in advance of the election because I need flexibility to give my view, to explain to the people, to give them another option. And I've come around to that. I used to think we should have the coalition in place before the election, even pick who the leaders are going to be, so voters can say,
That's
I'm
the
tired of the
package I'm
ANC, but we're going to go for the coalition. But I've come around to the conclusion that he's right, that Musi needs to come and give his story, and Gayton his story, and the DA their story, and let the voters choose. That's healthy. Now, what you're saying is, the danger is then 14 days only from the election to form the coalition. So let's say the ANC, everyone says they're going to be at 40, 45. I reckon they're going to be at 35%.
Jeez.
They're out, gone. I
Okay.
really believe that because I think
Okay.
the country's sick and tired of it. Even the ANC people are looking
Even
at,
the ANC people themselves.
do you know the ANC Youth League said something, and I'm going to get this wrong, but they said, we want a certain percentage of the NEC to be people under the age of 40. That's the right thing to say.
Yes.
They're tired of these old guys who have no idea what they're doing, incompetent at destroying the country.
Sure.
Even the ANC Youth League is saying we want fresh blood, but it isn't going to happen because all you're going to have is Cyril and his crowd or the evil RET crowd. That's it. That's the choice. And it's all useless. So within the ANC, people are going, we want fresh blood. So we need fresh blood in the market. And I think each party needs to argue its case, compete with one another for the voter. But we do need the ANC voters to be brave enough this time around to say, I'm going to back one of the new parties for change. And maybe, as Omri says, by the time the 2029 elections have come by, I think I got that date right, the ANC would have revived itself as a good, positive force for good and be competing.
Sure.
I think this is healthy.
It sounds like, to what you're saying, a coalition is almost like a competitive league if you have a lot of good people putting in work, putting their hands up, they're going to come together. At some point, we'll see who's the best, and then come next election, we'll say, that's the team we need to go for.
Yeah.
What is the responsibility of business? Because a lot of people assume that politicians are just puppets for big business. And if Cyril is making a decision, if Gwede is making a decision, if someone else is, it's only because there are rich people at the back that are standing to benefit. Eskom is an example. There's a story now that the reason they want to break up Eskom is to privatize it for some of their friends in the background that we don't know. What is the responsibility of business now in changing the country and changing the political landscape?
So in democracies in Europe, business and politics tend to stay apart. Okay, they have
Okay.
very strict rules on capital contributions, lobbying, and things like that. Very strict rules.
Sure.
And what happens there is, business tends to say, we will donate to the limit we're allowed to. We'll disclose it, but we'll have no influence beyond maybe lobbying at
Okay.
most.
Which is open and everyone is aware.
It's transparent, yeah. Whereas here, there's no way Gwede has been captured by business.
Okay.
I'll give you that thing.
Okay.
He's been captured by moronic communist thinking, which is
Okay.
1,000 times worse. Okay?
Sure.
ESCOM 2.0. It's idiotic. NHI will never work. It'll bankrupt the country. So don't worry about Gwede being captured.
Okay.
Cyril has definitely taken money from business, no question.
Yes.
But he can't now. Electoral rules have changed. And do you want to know why this is bad for the ANC?
Okay.
Because a number of business people gave money to the DA, Action SA, ANC.
Yes.
No one gave it to the EFF with any brain. And what happened there is they didn't really have to disclose it. But now there's a rule you can't give more than 15 million rand in total. So the Russians can't pour hundreds of millions into the ANC anymore. And if you go above 100,000 rand donation, you have to declare who you are.
You have to declare,
So anyone, business people, who've been spreading their bets, giving a bit of money to each of them,
Sure.
is going to be very embarrassed to have their name on funding the ANC. They're not going to want to admit it, but funding DA, Action SA, everyone's going to be proud to do that. It'll be a badge of courage, actually.
Yeah.
And we'll know who didn't give money to those parties very soon. So it's flipping.
Controversial. Just your personal opinion. Isn't this how we come up with like a pala pala situation? Because there might be some guys still giving the ANC money through the back door.
Yeah. ANC's going to try. The ANC's run out of money. They can't break anything anymore. They're all broken.
Everything's broken.
South African Air was gone. Eskom broke it. They've broken everything.
Yeah.
And they've stolen what's left. And they can't. Lutuli House, which is a mafia organization, can't pay. They can't pay their
They
staff.
can't pay salaries,
They're criminals. It's criminal.
Sure.
Everyone goes, don't be rude of the dead. Jessie Duarte. I go, ding dong, the witch is dead. Because she was one of the witches in that cabal.
Jeez.
Bad person. So business.
That's harsh, but I hear you.
It's
That's
true.
harsh, but I hear you.
It's true.
You're not the only one, by the way. There were a couple of other people that had the same sentiments.
Business needs to stand up, show some spine, and say enough is enough to the current ANC government.
Sure. How do we educate the masses? Because to me, at least, it seems like an education thing. We're having a conversation, coalitions, we want to study Sweden, but to the masses out there, you're telling them, try the DA, try Action, they're like, whatever. How do we infiltrate education to get them to actually understand governance, running a municipality, so that they're not listening to jokes, nice music, the guy who's got the best dance moves,
Being fed with a t-shirt on the day, whatever.
because Gayton is working. We can see the work. How do we get the masses to start looking at the guys who are working and to actually see this is the person that's actually working?
Franz Cronier did some very incredible research lately, and he published it.
Yeah.
And the research was in Ward 54 in Soweto. ANC voters and people who would normally vote ANC but aren't voting. Okay?
Yeah.
They all admit the DA does a better job than the ANC, is a better solution, is a better option, and knows how to build and manage an economy and a business. And because when you come from the rest of South Africa to the Western Province, things work here and they don't work there. There are no potholes here. Things get fixed.
Is it because of the DA
It's
or because of
the
people
DA.
with money?
It's because of the DA.
It's not because of people with money.
People with money there are people with money in Durban and Joburg and Bloemfontein and everywhere else. It's the DA.
Okay.
Only the DA, Patriotic Alliance, in the recent 100 days with Gayton McKenzie,
Yeah.
and the opposition parties, only those parties know how to do the very basic, simple things. If you build a sewage plant. Okay? You've got to build it at the right cost, but you've also got to maintain it and keep investing to make it work.
Yeah.
So the ANC come up with these huge projects. Let's build a nuclear plant. Well, they know if it's a $2 billion project, they can steal 500 million.
Yes.
But they can't do the small things. And the man in the street, the woman in the street, you call them the masses,
Yeah.
they know now the ANC can't do the important little things that matter because the lights go out, the sewage doesn't work, there's no policing.
Sure.
And they know that the opposition parties can, but we've got to get them from either voting ANC to voting for someone else, or most important in my view, not voting at all, to trying one of the other parties. We've got to have change. And business needs to stand up and say enough is enough. They're not doing it. Do you hear anything from ABSA, Discovery, any of those businesses? Do any of the leaders there stand up and say what I've been saying, enough is enough? They don't.
What is your comeback to when Western Cape, because normally when we speak about the Western Cape, Cyril himself went on TV saying at least one city works. There's always the comeback of, but look at the townships and the colored areas in the Western Cape. Normally what I tell them, those people vote ANC, EFF, but is that also not a DA responsibility? Do you feel they may be failing the more black areas in the Western Cape?
The people pouring into the Western Cape, because things work,
Yeah.
puts huge stress on the systems. But if you have a look, the houses get built, satellite dishes go up. Musi Maimane says today's homeless settlement is tomorrow's suburb, which is true.
Yes.
They're not going away,
That's
they're getting bigger. And the DA is making enormous inroads in trying to do the right things, not just in the wealthy areas, in the other areas too. Solly Moeng is a friend of mine, said to me,
Sure.
Rob, you live in Bishop's Court. You're about the most secure place in South Africa, okay?
Sure.
But I live in not a particularly good area in the Cape, and we have crime. I mean, Musi Maimane got held up at gunpoint.
He did. Very tragic.
And,
Very tragic.
and we have crime in our areas, and the DA, and I said, hold on, who controls the police? Becky Useless Pele. Do you know he turned up, when he and Ian Cameron got into that fight?
Shout out to Ian Cameron and Action
Shout out
Society.
to Ian Cameron. I had
Yeah.
breakfast with him this morning.
Sure. Amazing.
Ian
amazing
Cameron
guy.
said Becky Telly had 20 parking places outside the office kept open for him. The tactical TRT unit was there in force. They were protecting a useless man who does nothing instead of 1 hour in the townships saving people. He's a disgrace.
It's ridiculous.
I'd like to be in a room with him.
Enough politics. Plans for you moving forward from a business perspective? How are your parents doing?
Thank you.
What can we look forward to with Invest Africa and
Thank
any
you,
projects you might be up?
I should be asking you that because you're doing extraordinary things and I'd like to be able to help you. No, thank you. I spent the night with my mum and dad in Joburg 2 nights ago. Dad's turning 96 in 10 days' time.
Jeez, that's a soldier.
That's a soldier,
Yeah.
And my mum's late 80s, and they potter around the house I was born up in. And business is good and family's good, but I'm in love with this country and I'm not leaving. I'm African, you're African, we're both South African. I love this country. I came back for 3 years and I'm not leaving. My wife loves it.
I thought you might be leaving. I met your wife. Amazing woman.
Yeah.
She said,
she said you're very handsome, so I got to.
Stop it. So she said, yeah, she's staying. You convinced her. She's not sure what's supporting the Springboks because she's a New Zealander, but you've won her over, which is kudos to you.
The country's won her over.
But that means
People like
you
you
have the power to win people over. I mean, I'm here and I've gotten to witness the people's lives you've touched, and you speak about it. And at some point, I thought it was a code word. Good people. Speak about good people that are doing good work. Forget the politics. Forget the race. Even though we are a very racially sensitive country, look at the people that are doing the work, creating the jobs, adding value, helping people. Gayton McKenzie's spoken about work you've done helping him remove the bucket toilet system in the Karoo. We can say whatever we want. We can speak about legacies and those things. And yes, they're triggering, but you're doing work. And that's amazing.
Do you know what breaks my heart? Is I'm walking down the street and I see one South African helping another South African for little things, paying their bill, or walking them across the street or opening a door. And there's so much love in this country.
Yeah.
There's so many good people. We need to unlock that potential. We need to let these people have the opportunity. Here's how an economy works, very simply.
Sure.
The government creates the environment for investment,
Okay.
and business steps in and invests, takes risks, hires people, builds businesses. That's how it works. The problem with the current government is they think they need to make all the decisions on all elements, but they're not qualified to do it.
Sure.
Let business people do business, build businesses, take risk, but the government needs to stand back and allow the environment for it to happen. There will be so many more jobs, so much more money coming in, so much more opportunity for this country. We need to unlock human potential, but we need a new government to do that.
It's an enabling environment.
It's an exactly.
I don't know if we have much more time. I told you I've got a lot of questions for you, and I'm hoping you'll come back.
Let's do this again.
Soon.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I'll speak as a young black boy. I'm a huge student of life, of human beings. I've managed to transcend the racial issues, the racial baggage that so many people have, because you end up losing so much focused on that. Studying what your family has done, your grandfather, is inspiring for me. And as I get closer to people like yourself, I learn so much more which needs to be shared with good people. The apartheid government made a mistake. It was a huge mistake of keeping out good people purely because of skin color. And some people benefited, maybe your family or other people may have benefited because of the laws, just like BEE. My dad could have been a tenderpreneur just because he's black. But how do we dismantle those things so that the right people are working? And I think more than anything, what I would like in the relationship we're building is for more people to see that happening and to also put their hand up and say, how can we also get involved? Because it's going to be work that's going to change this country and not just words. But thank you very much, and I look forward to the next one.
And I do
because
too.
You've committed.
I have indeed.
You've committed.
Done.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Rob.
buddy.
Easy.